Disturbing internet trends. One of the craziest and most destructive internet trends, known mainly as the Devious Lick trend, popped up on TikTok in 2021. It involves school students posting videos of themselves stealing or damaging items from their school, or even showing off the stolen items as some sort of trophy presentation. It started off quite tame, with people showing off things like stolen boxes of masks during the pandemic. But quickly, things took a much more extreme turn. People escalated to not just stealing masks or other small things, but ripping soap dispensers out of walls or stealing phones from classrooms. Of course, schools were quick to react as they wanted to shut this down ASAP. The original mask stealing video had amassed almost 350,000 views before it was removed by TikTok. But sadly, despite it being removed, the damage had already been done. These videos were popping up everywhere and schools were issuing statements to parents urging them to warn their children about the dangers and possible consequences of participating in this trend. One school said, "While kids may think this is a harmless prank, it is indeed criminal activity that could lead to serious consequences and arrests." But some didn't get the memo, because by the end of September, it was being reported that over 13 students had been arrested across America as a result of participating in the trend. This was happening all over the country in many different states, and it's just sad that people could now have a stain on their record just because of something stupid they did as a child. One person got charged for stealing a toilet paper dispenser, and I really don't envy them for having to explain that to a future employer. Thankfully, TikTok have taken the relevant action to put a stop to this trend. They quickly released a statement saying that they want their community to be safe and to create responsibly, which is why they will always remove content that enables or glorifies criminal activity. If you tried to search for the videos, you would be greeted with a page reminding you of the community guidelines, so it's safe to say that the trend is finally over. But although this trend may have led to criminal charges, this next one actually led to serious injuries. The Skullbreaker challenge is as dangerous as it sounds. It involves 3 people side by side saying that they're going to jump into the air, but the 2 people on the end instead kick out the legs from the third, making them fall over. By that description, it may sound like a bit of fun, but you can imagine just how quickly it can take a dark turn. And things did take a turn when a 13-year-old boy from New Jersey was injured as a result of the trend. Stacy Schenker was called to her son's school in 2020 when he was found unresponsive on the floor. When ambulances arrived, they revealed that he had actually suffered a seizure, and so he was quickly rushed to the hospital. As tests were run on the boy, the school got in touch with the parents to tell them how he actually got injured. He had indeed taken part in the trend, and he was hospitalized for over 24 hours as a result. The 2 students who had injured the boy were charged with 3rd-degree aggravated assault and 3rd-degree endangering an injured victim. Both the parents of the injured boy and also the school spoke out in an attempt to raise awareness about the trend. They urged parents to keep an eye on their children who may see trends like this that seem fun on the surface but could have possible serious consequences that they won't realise. Children act impulsively, so they're bound to try something that seems harmless, even if in reality it may not be. TikTok banned any videos of this challenge from appearing on their platform, but sadly, it wasn't quick enough, and we can only imagine how much damage has been done to many others around the world. We're skipping forward to 2024 now to take a look at the disturbing trend known as car surfing. Last year certainly wasn't the first time it had popped up, but it did make a resurgence. It started to gain popularity again when videos of the trend were posted to various social media sites, and it involved someone riding on the outside of a vehicle that was being driven by another person. As you can imagine, it didn't take long for sad incidents to follow when this popped up, as in September of that year, an American 15-year-old was in hospital fighting for her life after participating in the trend. She was thrown from the moving vehicle and suffered extreme brain trauma. When she was taken to the hospital, it was declared that she was in critical condition and was given multiple sedatives in order to put her under. 4 days later, they started to take her off of them and bring her out of her coma, and by day 18, she had thankfully undergone successful brain surgery and was able to communicate again using hand signals. $14,000 was raised for her, and thankfully, she was able to leave the hospital after 7 weeks. But the consequences still followed because she had to learn how to walk again, how to talk again. But at the end of the day, she did get to come home. But the same sadly can't be said for a 16-year-old who was involved in a car surfing accident just a year prior. Police were alerted to a crash in Colorado, and reports stated that they had seen people hanging out of the moving vehicle just moments before. The 16-year-old that had been involved in the accident was critically injured as a result, and was later pronounced dead. Around the time of the incident, police came out to say that they had received at least 6 calls related to car surfing. This was just in the last few weeks at the time, and it was an unusually high number. So they tried to hit home just how dangerous it could be and how serious the consequences were. But if the risk of death wasn't enough, they tried to make it clear the charges that drivers could face. The criminal charges ranged from reckless driving to, on the more extreme end, vehicular homicide. But although I say that basically being charged with murder is on the extreme end, it's more common that these incidents end in that than you may think. A 2008 study found that more than half of reported car surfing incidents ended fatally, with most cases involving males aged between 15 and 19. So it may seem like a bit of harmless fun because we'll never think that something this bad will happen to us, but it's sadly more likely than we will ever believe. It's not just cars that people are surfing on though, because in October of last year, a video was captured that showed a person running on top of a moving train in New York City. According to the person who recorded it, teenagers would do that every day. And even death didn't put these people off, because just a few days prior to when this was recorded, 2 girls had fallen off of a moving train while attempting to surf. One girl was left with internal bleeding and a fractured skull, while the other was pronounced dead at the scene. There are many cases of note, but that doesn't put people off. And to this day, it's still very much an ongoing trend. But one trend that is now dead but went absolutely worldwide in 2016 was the clown craze. I'm sure you all remember it and may even have your own stories, because I know I certainly do. It all started in September 2016, on the run up to Halloween, when police in Newcastle announced that they had received reports of a creepy clown leaping out of bushes to scare children. Now, considering Halloween was on the horizon but still at least a month away at this point, it was certainly weird and very concerning. But things quickly went further than anyone could have ever predicted, because over the next few days, many more incidents involving clowns were reported all over the UK. And by early October, tabloids were reporting that a terrifying clown craze had hit British shores. But although it took until September for it to spread to the UK, it may have actually been happening in America much sooner. It was reported that in late August, authorities in South Carolina had received reports that clowns were trying to lure children into the woods. Admittedly, these claims were unsubstantiated, but it was obviously still very concerning. And as happened in the UK, it quickly left just one area and started to spread to many different states. A school district in Connecticut even went as far as to put an outright ban on clown costumes for Halloween, putting them in the same category as symbols of terror. Another school in Massachusetts was actually put on lockdown because there was fears that people dressed up as clowns were going to enter the building with weapons. So as you can see, this quickly went from a possible hoax to a full-on nationwide panic. Although a lot of the reports were fake or just people playing a prank, there are some videos out there on the internet that show people dressed as clowns holding things like weapons, or just generally acting creepy, and in some cases they even may look ready to attack. Of course, this is the internet, so a lot of these could be fake, but it's terrifying to think about the possibility that they could be real. And sadly, the trend wasn't without casualties. A 16-year-old boy from Pennsylvania was stabbed to death over a dispute that broke out over a clown mask. He was killed by a 29-year-old who was later jailed on charges of first-degree murder. And this is a case that is often referenced in relation to this trend, but it's unknown if the clown trend was actually the cause of the neighbourhood controversy that led to the stabbing. But while trends like the clown craze go on all around the country, others can be partaken in by just going to your kitchen. And that was the reality of the NyQuil Chicken trend. Just by the name, it doesn't really sound appetizing, but that didn't stop people from trying it. It involved involved people cooking chicken in NyQuil medicine, which is used to treat the common cold. When used properly, it does its job, but as you can imagine, cooking it and combining it with food can be very dangerous. The trend first started in 2017 when a Twitter user posted to the platform saying, "If she makes you NyQuil chicken, do not let her go." This was meant to be a joke, but little did the user know that just a few years later, concerns would be raised that people were beginning to take it very seriously. People were saying on TikTok that they were actually going to try it, and it got people so worried that the United States Food and Drug Administration had to release a statement, urging people not to participate in the dangerous trend. They said, "Boiling a medication can make it very concentrated and change its properties in various ways. Even if you don't eat the chicken, inhaling the medication's vapors while cooking could cause high levels of the drug to enter your body, and it could also hurt your lungs." But disturbingly, the warning did little to sway people away. In fact, data shows that searches for NyQuil chicken were actually very low before the statement. But then the FDA spoke out and results skyrocketed. More people were aware of the trend than ever, but they were also more aware of the dangers. No deaths related to the trend were ever reported, but I did find reference to a 61-year-old man being hospitalized. But this just goes to show how so many dangerous trends can start just inside your home. And the next one is another one that you could take part in without leaving your house. The Salt and Ice Challenge had the participant putting salt and water on their skin and then seeing how long they could hold a piece of ice against it. You would record it and post it to TikTok, but little did people know how much danger they were actually putting themselves in. Mixing salt, water, ice, and body heat creates a chemical reaction that drops the temperature of the ice drastically. Holding something that is that cold against your vulnerable skin can result in a burn, and it can turn serious after as little as 2 minutes. And 2 teens from Iowa found this out the hard way. The pair tried it with a group of friends, but rather than use ice, they decided to take it up a level and use snow. It left them both with 2nd and 3rd degree burns on their arms, and skin grafts were required in order to repair the damage. This example wasn't even really on the extreme end either, because this was common in these cases. A lot of them were really ending this badly. They were requiring minor surgery in a lot of incidents, because the skin in that area was being completely destroyed. The scariest part is that people may not even be aware of how much damage they are doing, because in the moment when they are holding the ice against their skin, they are numbing the area, so therefore they won't realise the extent of what they're actually doing. This was being spread far and wide, and one video on YouTube garnered almost 7 million views. Things got so bad in the UK that a police chief even issued a personal warning to parents, urging them to make their children aware of the dangers of the challenge. The Salt and Ice Challenge dates back to the 2010s, and another challenge that was prominent back then was the Cinnamon Challenge. This is definitely another one that we've all heard of, but you may not realise the serious consequences that participating in the trend could have. The Cinnamon Challenge was an interesting one because basically anyone could do it. Everyone was likely to have some cinnamon lying around, so it was no problem to take a spoonful and consume it. And that was the challenge, to eat a spoonful of dry cinnamon in under 60 seconds without water or any other sort of liquid. This is already bad enough because it can make you gag and even throw up, but it can have much darker effects. By 2013, millions of people were aware of the challenge because YouTube videos portraying it had gone viral. Even popular creators at the time were taking part in it, so everyone, especially young and impressionable children who may be watching these videos, were eager to take part themselves. And the aftermath painted a dramatic story, because in the first few months of 2012, 178 calls related to the challenge were made to American poison control centers. 17% of these required medical attention, but even that number itself is huge because in 2011, only 51 calls were made throughout the entire year. So in the first few months of 2012 alone, that number had more than doubled. And in one incident that gained a lot of attention, one person actually died from consuming cinnamon. A 4-year-old boy from Kentucky. Matthew Rader was searching through his mum's kitchen when he found a container of cinnamon and decided to consume some. He began to choke before collapsing, and when he was discovered by his mum Brianna, he was in a seizure-like state. He was taken to the local hospital, but sadly passed away just an hour and a half later. His mum said that he was completely healthy beforehand, and the official cause of death was asphyxiation as a result of inhaling cinnamon. Brianna went public with the story of her son's accidental death in order to raise awareness about the potential dangers of consuming cinnamon. Although her son's death wasn't as a result of the trend, she saw how many people were partaking in it and how viral it was going all over the internet. So she wanted to make sure that no one else would lose their loved ones as a result of an internet trend. She said on Facebook, "Cinnamon can kill. All these kids, they don't think about the fact it can hurt them." And she's right, because we see this time and time again. These internet trends continue to claim lives, and these are just some of the most disturbing that we've ever seen. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video, I really appreciate you. Like and subscribe, it really helps the channel. Share the video if you did enjoy. Let me know what trends you think should have been included in this video if I missed any, or if you have any personal experience with any of these trends. And a reminder that this is part 2 of this disturbing internet trends series, so if you haven't checked out part 1, you can view it on the channel. Don't forget to check out my social media. I have Instagram and Blue Sky. And of course, thank you to my Patreon supporters and YouTube members: Brooke Entrepreneur, Morrigan, K4 Silver, Alex Rod, Based Finger, Carmilla, Tango Slime, and Shoshka. I'll be back on Friday with another video, but if you want more content right now, YouTube thinks you'll like this video that's on screen right now.